It feels like a quiet magic trick happening in reverse, a sleight of hand performed not by a magician but by the invisible forces of the economy. The money in your hand looks the same, feels the same, but somehow its power has diminished. It's a subtle, creeping change that you might not notice day to day, but over time, the effect becomes undeniable. Take a familiar scenario. You walk into the grocery store, clutching the same $50 note you used for last month's big shop. You wander down the familiar aisles, a mental list guiding your path. A loaf of bread, a carton of milk, some eggs, a bit of cheese, the essentials. Perhaps a chicken for Sunday dinner, a family tradition. It's not just the food shop, it's the petrol station, where that same $50 no longer fills the tank. It's the electricity bill that arrives, unexpectedly higher, even though your habits haven't changed. Each transaction is a small reminder that your money's reach is shrinking. Back at the checkout, the items are scanned and the total on the screen is higher than you remember. It's not a huge, dramatic leap, just enough to make you pause to do a quick mental calculation and reluctantly put back a small treat. A little luxury you could afford last time, but not today. The same money, a slightly emptier cart. This isn't a trick, it's a sign of something much bigger at play in the economy. And this experience isn't felt equally. For a young family, it might mean cutting back on children's activities. For a pensioner on a fixed income, it could mean a colder home in winter. The pressure pinches in different places for everyone. That quiet, sinking feeling of your money not stretching as far as it used to is now a conversation happening at kitchen tables across the country, a shared reality for millions. Have you ever felt like your money just doesn't stretch as far as it used to? That familiar feeling of your weekly shop costing more, or your energy bill creeping up even when you haven't changed your habits. There's a name for this invisible force that quietly shrinks the value of your cash. It's called inflation. In simple terms, inflation is the rate at which the general price level for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, the purchasing power of money is falling. Think of it this way, your dollar can buy a little bit less today than it could yesterday. Over time, this effect compounds, making a significant difference to your financial well-being. Let's use a simple example. If the annual inflation rate is a steady 2%, something that costs $100 today will cost $102 next year. You're buying the exact same basket of goods, but the total at the checkout is slightly higher. You see this everywhere in your daily life. It's in the price of your morning coffee, your daily commute, and your monthly subscriptions. It's the reason a tank of petrol costs more, or a family trip to the cinema feels like a bigger expense than it once did. This is where it really hits home. If your wages don't rise at the same pace as prices, you're effectively taking a pay cut each year. Your salary might look the same on paper, but its real-world value, what you can actually buy with it, has decreased. The same principle applies to your savings. A 1% interest rate from your savings account might seem positive, but if it's up against 3% inflation, your money is actually losing 2% of its value every single year. However, inflation isn't bad for everyone. For those with fixed-rate debt, like a mortgage, it can be a hidden benefit. As prices and wages rise, the fixed amount you owe becomes less of a burden in real terms. Inflation effectively erodes the weight of that debt over time. Crucially, inflation doesn't affect everyone equally. A household that spends a large portion of its income on essentials like food and energy will feel the pinch much more sharply than a wealthier household whose spending is more diversified. When the prices of necessities rise fastest, it disproportionately impacts those with the tightest budgets. To measure this, economists track a hypothetical shopping basket of hundreds of common goods and services known as the Consumer Prices Index, or CPI. This basket represents what the average consumer buys. So when you hear on the news that inflation is at 4%, it means the cost of that entire representative basket has become 4% pricier over the last year. It's the official measure of how much your money is shrinking. First, demand-pull inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods. Pay rises or stimulus boost spending power. demand surges while supply hasn't changed. Sellers raise prices. Classic supply and demand. Second, cost push inflation. When energy and materials jump, production costs rise. Businesses protect margins by raising prices. You notice it in snacks and shoes. Central banks cool inflation by raising interest rates, slowing borrowing and spending. If people expect prices to rise, wages and prices move preemptively, becoming self-fulfilling. Expectations embed into contracts and choices, making inflation stickier. Now let's consider the opposite, deflation. It's when the general level of prices falls. On the surface, it feels like a win. Your money buys more tomorrow. But deflation encourages delays. Why buy now if it's cheaper later? Delayed purchases slash demand. Prices fall more and demand drops further. A vicious spiral. Unlike inflation, deflation makes debts heavier, fixed payments, shrinking incomes, falling asset values. That's why central banks slash rates and use quantitative easing to push money into the system and revive demand. When prices keep falling, staying profitable becomes hard. Hiring freezes, layoffs, wage cuts follow. Lower incomes reduce spending, which forces even lower prices. It's a deflationary spiral that's hard to escape. History shows prolonged stagnation and high unemployment. Businesses stop investing when future prices look lower. They hoard cash and wait for conditions to improve. Less innovation means fewer jobs and weak growth. Stronger money sounds nice, but deflation often brings fewer jobs, lower wages, and economic gloom. If inflation is a fever that overheats an economy and deflation is a debilitating chill, then stagflation is the bewildering and painful experience of having both at once. It's an economic malady that defies traditional logic, where the economy feels sick in two contradictory ways simultaneously, leaving policymakers with a seemingly impossible puzzle to solve. The diagnosis is a toxic cocktail of three symptoms: persistently high inflation, a stagnant economy with little to no growth, and stubbornly high unemployment. It truly is the worst of both worlds, creating a vicious cycle where each problem exacerbates the others. The name itself tells the story: stagnation plus inflation. For individuals and families, this means costs for everything jump, while incomes stagnate or even worse, fall as jobs become scarce. Your purchasing power evaporates. It feels like running on a treadmill that's accelerating, while your own energy is fading. The rising cost of fuel, food, and other essentials squeezes every household budget, forcing difficult choices. As a result, living standards slide backwards, and financial anxiety becomes a constant companion. The classic example unfolded in the 1970s. It began with a massive supply shock. An oil embargo by major producers quadrupled crude prices almost overnight. This surge in energy costs rippled through the entire supply chain. Businesses faced higher expenses for production and transport and passed these costs directly to consumers. Inflation ran hot, but because costs were so high, businesses couldn't afford to maintain output. Production slowed, jobs were cut, and economic growth stalled. This created a terrible policy dilemma. The standard tools to fight inflation, like raising interest rates to cool demand, can worsen unemployment by making it more expensive for businesses to borrow and expand. Conversely, the usual tools to fight joblessness, like cutting rates or increasing government spending, can pour fuel on the fire and stoke even higher inflation. Central banks are caught between a rock and a hard place with no easy answers. Rule 1. Don't let money sit idle. Low interest loses to inflation. Aim to grow at or above the inflation rate. Investing is the tool. Real assets like property and commodities can hedge inflation. Look for companies with pricing power that can pass costs on. Diversified, low-cost index funds are a strong, simple starting point. Invest in yourself, advance, reskill, and negotiate so your income keeps pace. If pay won't keep up where you are, explore the market. Your income is the engine. Keep it strong. In deflation, cash is king. Prices fall. Money gains power. Prioritize capital preservation. Avoid risky bets and new debt. Aggressively reduce high-interest credit and personal loans. Being debt-free is powerful protection when incomes fall. Stagflation needs a hybrid playbook. Own value-holding assets and prepare for job risk. Build a 6-12-month emergency fund in a safe, accessible account. Diversify income streams and spread investments to cushion unique risks. Understanding the landscape is your map and compass. Inflation, grow and invest. Deflation, preserve and avoid debt. Stagflation, build resilience. Here's a simple checklist to start now. Review your budget and track where prices hit hardest. Build your emergency fund, at least 3 to 6 months. Ensure savings aren't being eroded. Consider inflation-beating options. Assess your pay, research market value, and negotiate. Pay down high-interest debt to free cash flow and reduce risk. If this helped, please like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Comment what you'd like next.